Kwasi Kwateng has joined me in the studio. Kwasi Kwateng is a lawyer, and he speaks for Ken Agyapong. Kwasi, good evening and welcome to the show again.
Good evening, Paul.
The reason why you are here is that Ken Agyapong, the candidate, is accused of delving into tribal politics. There's a video where he talks about he being something about Akan people, something like that. What happened?
I mean, contrary to it, he has been a victim of this tribal politics. Unfortunately, there are some other people who benefit from it. It just so happens that after benefiting from it, they played the ostrich game, played the victim role, and Ken, of course, appears to be like, I mean, somebody who is propagating it. Just like what we see. I mean, if you go to America, for instance, there are some genuine instances where somebody may have committed a wrong thing, but they hide under the umbrella of racism and want to justify it. So Ken is rather suffering and has been a victim of the political abuses, whilst unfortunately, and to the contrary, we have other candidates who are enjoying from same. But these are the facts. The facts are that just yesterday, when he met some delegates in the Eastern region, he reinforced and reiterated and of course raised a concern. And that concern, Paul, had to do with the unprecedented levels of tribal intimidation that is happening in certain parts of the North. It is important for me to state clearly that Ken is not divisive, Ken is not discriminatory. Interesting.
What did he say? What did he say in the video that created this problem?
Yeah, his point was the fact that he needed to raise these concerns, which had to do with the fact that if you go to certain parts of the North, his supporters are constantly being intimidated.
Currently?
Yes, there are situations where they have to get chiefs to compel delegates to pledge to vote in a certain direction. Recently, if you recall, when he went to the North, remember there were some delegates who voluntarily came to him and revealed information about how they voted for him, which unfortunately they recorded 0 for him. I mean, he raised this concept, but interestingly, some of these are people who came forth are getting threat of being banished, and some of them also threat of harm. So he just had to lay those concerns out, and of course, I mean, had to emphasize that if that is happening in other parts of the country, if we don't condemn it, it may also embolden other parts of the country, for instance, parts of the South to also do the same. And I think, unfortunately, some of the media reportage misrepresented it. I don't want to repeat the name of the media house on their platform, but they misrepresented it and presented a certain outlook that suggests that Ken is asking all Akans to vote against minority group. I mean, there is no way he would do that.
Vote against minority rule.
Minority group.
Minority group.
Yeah, minority. The groupings. I mean, the other ethnic groups. And we believe in the honest, fair, and of course inclusive policies. But what we also resist vehemently is any attempt to also blackmail us on any religious or tribal lines, because the record has is clear, and the history is also there, that there have been candidates, they move to their home regions, engage in all manner of tribal and identity politics. I personally do not believe there is anything wrong with identity or, let's say, home advantage. I don't believe there is anything wrong with that.
But I'm from here, so
yeah, vote from here. But when you propagate that and then play the ostrich game and then appear victim when you move to the other, your opponent's home region, that is where I feel it marks some form of hypocrisy and ought to be condemned. So, Paul, the emphasis has to be made on your show that Ken is not divisive. His recent company, the rubber company, employs 360 people. Interestingly, 300 of them are all from the northern part of the country.
The rubber company in the northern region?
No, it's in Greater Accra here, Tema. It's in Tema here. But interestingly, it employs about 300 Northerners out of the 360 people that currently works there. So the point have to be made very strongly, refuting the claims and those reports that were misleading and deliberately misrepresented to create an impression as though Ken does not like Northerners. And interestingly, this thing only resurfaces anytime you are going to have election, where it's almost being used as a tool, being weaponized also by some politicians to create an impression that other group, other tribal group do not like the other. We dissociate ourselves from such campaign. But of course, like I indicated, we will also not allow anyone to blackmail us into silence when it comes to religious lines. If chiefs are being compelled to call delegates, to ask them or force them to vote in a certain direction, and also there are also delegates that has been threatened against harm, and of course there are also threat of banishment, all on the basis that they support Ken. I'm not sure if you're a leader, you just leave it hanging. Obviously, you condemn him and also ask for inclusivity, and of course, some political.
How is the campaign going though? Where is Ken these days?
Campaign is so well. Ken, as at now, is on his 11th region, which happens to be the Eastern region. Just yesterday in the evening, he took a break, has to embark on some few personal rounds, and hopefully in the next 2 days he will also proceed. But of course, our message is really going on well. Our message has been simple. In 3 phases, I would say it's premised on jobs, 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 yes. And that's what he's preaching. Especially, you recall, Paul, yesterday, the unfortunate incident that happened where young people had to lose their lives in their search of jobs. Of course, Ken is not promising to come and solve every problem in the country. But within the first 4 years that any person will have as a president, with the right environment, empowering the private sector, and of course, taking those bold initiatives and bold decisions, I am very confident that we'll be able to reduce unemployment and create decent jobs for our people. Not only decent jobs, but also even those who are working, who are underpaid. The Ken's principle is that when the economy boosts, which of course there are a lot of job creation, people's salary also going to be affected, and people are also going to live the decent life, so that the American dream that people are living in America, the UK dream that people are living, we can also live the Ghanaian dream.
Which is the Ghanaian dream, which is that you will have a job.
You have a decent life.
Exactly.
Job. Decent life, of course. Decent life will mean that you at least have a means of livelihood. So that, Paul, if you want to rent a beautiful place, you should be able to. If you want to change your car, or if you want to have access to car, especially after working for a reasonable period of time, say 5 years, 6 years, this should be basic. And it's also basic in other jurisdictions, other countries. There is a global trend, and especially when it comes to our jurisdiction, it's on the rise, where a lot of young graduates have to pretend as though they want to pursue further studies. Most of them, recently I was in Canada, most of the students that go to Canada and other jurisdictions, most of them do not even go to school. They just end up driving Uber and engaging in other menial jobs, all because in their home country they are unable to live very decent life and the Ghanaian dream. So Ken is of the view that when you name unemployment to the barest minimum, at least the decency that is associated with the human life, and of course the dignity that we all deserve, we should be able to get it as God's children.
That's interesting. There's a narrative that this MPP race may be too tight. Is it true?
I beg to differ. Of course, I respect those views. For me, especially from where I'm coming from, is a feedback to us to ensure that we really work hard. But from how the grounds are and how the delegates are receiving our message, you realize that the delegates is about 1.16% of the entire general voter population, which is about 18 million, because the delegates is about 218,000. If you do the mathematics, you realize about 1.16%. So at the end of the day, the delegates also are listening to what the majority of Ghanaians are calling for. If you sit in trust, people are calling for Ken. If you enter the malls, Ken. They say it in a very simple language, especially in the markets. More the Ken buy a better. So I have the impression, I have the conviction that this message is really sinking to the delegates. That yes, all the other candidates are capable. They are all, very great and nice gentlemen. But within the exigency of the moment, the timing, people are saying that more they can buy a better. And for me, that gives him the added advantage, that credibility, that trust. It's not only about marketability, but it's also an aggregation of marketability and visibility. Marketability may just be, marketability will have to be acceptability, and visibility will have to be presence. In the case of Ken, maybe unlike all other candidates, Ken is both marketable and visible. And for me, it gives him that advantage, that presence of visibility, and of course, that aspect where a lot of Ghanaians trust him. They place value on him, that Ken is honest, Ken is bold, Ken is patriotic, Ken is somebody who will not tolerate A, B, C, D. Especially at a time like where we believe that most of our challenges has always been issues of discipline. We will need that leader who can make strong decisions. I believe strongly that Ken has another advantage. I don't see it as a tight race. I see one of Ken is going to win. I'm looking at between 62 to 64%.
Oh wow, that's interesting. You think Ken is going to win?
Yes.
Straight away?
Yeah, all things being equal, between 62 to 64%. Because currently, Paul, the Brian Champon factor has also changed a lot of the dynamics.
Yeah.
Where, of course, I wouldn't pretend that he's also not maybe snatching some of Ken's supporters, but out of every 10 people that goes to Brian Champo's camp, chances are that 9 of them are from the Dr. Baumia's camp. So he's really changed the dynamics, coupled with the fact that delegates believe that we need to present somebody who Ghanaians want and are ready to vote for. It gives him some added advantage. So I'm very confident that Ken will emerge victorious.